You
anyone else
bet.
have anything else to add onto
Yeah,
this before we move on?
I can add something. Bro, mental health, like, yeah, like it's the same with me, like Olga. Like, I only really like found out about it and actually like understood that it's like a very important thing in like grade 10, 11. Yeah, like it's I've also grown up in that sort of cliche stereotypical African household where it's like you're sad, pray about it, or listen, there's some kid in Africa right now walking 10 miles to go and drink some sewer water. Okay, fix
That
up,
was
bro.
the prime excuse. The
I swear,
prime
bro,
excuse.
like am I him? Like, come on, fam. Like, it's
But are
actually
they
like,
wrong though?
it's actually like, I mean, listen. I also agree like with a lot of stuff that Olga said though. But it's facts. Like that's facts. There are kids over there that are struggling and like going through like worse stuff than we could even imagine. And my mom, like, she's the one that I talk to about mental health and stuff like that. That the word mental health hasn't come up, but like feeling down and stuff like that, like keywords like that have come up. And she always tells me her story, and she was that child. Okay, she was that child that walked 10 miles to go to the plantation to, work for no money, and she struggled, and it's a blessing from God for her to be where she is now. So I always think back at her story, and like my success is tied to her. She always tells me this. She's like, if you don't succeed, I failed as a mother. That's it. Like if you're not happy in your life, I fail as a mother. So whenever I'm sad, I don't have time to be sad because she'll be at my door like, what the fuck is going on, bro? Like, what's going on, right? And a lot of like the source of my of the stress, and I wouldn't say I've ever been like depressed, because I have friends that I can say have been depressed, and I sort of compare myself to that, and the reality is I don't think I've reached that level. I think I've definitely been down and sad about stuff, but I don't think I've ever felt like depressed to the point where it's like for like a long period of time. So yeah, it's always been that sort of mentality for me, ever since I moved here from Cameroon, and I lived in Cameroon for like 8 years. So I saw, I used to live on this house which was like on the top of this hill, and it was just a straight drop down from that hill, like not even slanted or anything, just a straight drop down, and it's like these like kids that live in these houses with like a piece of flimsy metal on top of their like houses, right? Like, and you see, you remember stuff like that, and you come here and you realize something, though. You realize something that's, I think everybody should understand when it comes to mental health. Kids over there, they sort of progress and live their lives in those environments for their whole lives. So their like mental states are way different than kids that are living here and that know all these luxuries, know all like heat and stuff like that, right? So they are naturally tougher, right? In the definition of the word, whatever you want to call it. But when you're raised here, it's very different because you don't know what walking 10 miles to school is. You don't know what like a lot of these things are. So they are just bred different. And so when you analyze someone like a kid from that's born here in Canada versus a kid that's born there, you cannot put the same test in front of them and say, okay, answer the same question and stuff like that. It's not the same because it's just like a different experience completely. And that's why I started to understand, because when I would talk to my mom, I would listen to her story and I would always like tell myself in the back of my head, but that's not my story. I only lived in Cameroon for 8 years. And the fact is, in Cameroon, I was not struggling at all. Like I didn't, even then, like I didn't struggle or anything like that, right? When we moved here, I've never known what it is to be poor and stuff like that, right? So moving here, it's a way different experience because you don't have that tough skin, right? Like I can compare myself to some kid that's living in a third world country, in a war-torn country. It's just not the same, right? These are different sort of people. And me and my mom have talked about that. So that's like our main conversation when it comes to mental health. Um, and it's to have that tough skin and to build that, right? In my household, like we've talked about it with my father, right? Recently, actually, I actually saw him cry about something, right? Something he was going through at work, and I saw him cry, and I made me understand like gradually that these are still people. Like I think it was Rome that said that these are still people. They're not these beings that feel no emotions or stuff like that. So what we've talked about here in my house, and sadly, I wasn't leader like enough to go up and bring the conversation forward. It was mostly my mom, but it's just the coping mechanisms, right? You're not gonna pray it away, okay? So we slowly start to drop that. She's still like pray, bro, pray, but again, but but like she sort of understood that it's like you're not gonna pray it away. Okay, so what are coping mechanisms? For me, I find that I have to do something artistic. I have to go and do something that has to do with art. A big source of my like that puts me down is school, the pressure of school and like the stress of school. So I have to make sure that I can balance school and maybe go and do something artistic, pick up a camera, go take some videos, something, right? So like Olga was talking about coping mechanisms, that's one thing that we've talked about in my household. And yeah, second, pretty much sort of not comparing yourself to those people out there that are going through these difficult times and more difficult times, and taking into consideration where you are in your life, where you're living and stuff like that, right? But also having in the back of your mind that these are people that are struggling there, and you still have to keep going. You know what I mean? That's the biggest thing I feel when it comes to mental health, is to keep going. Like, don't ever give up, right? Don't ever just say, I'm done. Don't ever just say, it's never going to get any better and stuff like that. And I want to say that, the cliche of it is going to get better, but, I've had a lot of people tell me that, like, how do you know, and stuff like that. And I don't know how to answer that, and I don't know how to, so like my big thing is it's still like, yeah, keep going and stuff like that. That's always what my mom, that what we say is just keep going, keep in communication with your loved ones. And yeah, man. Oh, join a PlayStation chat, bro. You'll build some stuff against it. I'm telling you. It'll help out.
I know Celine wanted to have something as well.
Yo, I've
Could
been since I was
Sorry.
13. Oh, go for it, Sarah, if you want to go.
No, I can go at the end. You can go. I already said my thing.
Oh, okay. But yeah, no, I've been in therapy since I was 13. I'm 20, so it's been 7 years of therapy, for the record. Therapy and like mental health in my household has always, thank you, I appreciate that, has always been like a really big thing. Mainly because like my mom, she's really big about like, my mom's Latina, so like in our household, it wasn't like sadness, it was anger. Not only do you get spicy food, you get like a hot temper and an attitude, and you like catch an attitude over everything, right? So like that's where mental health kind of stems from. And so my mom's always been really big about mental health. Despite being like, if you just like work harder, it's not really that bad. Like you have it better than most kids in the world, or like I did this, like you can kind of push through whatever, because my mom's an immigrant as well. But I find that like this year in specific, my little brother was the one that kind of got hit really hard with mental health and just like how to deal with mental health. And he like didn't want to speak to like anybody. Like he refuses to go to therapy, doesn't want to talk to my mom, doesn't want to talk to me, doesn't want to talk to like nobody in my house. And there's also like this really big divide because I live in like a mixed family. So my stepdad is like Canadian, white, and he has 4 boys, 2 of which live with us. So like me and my little brother are the only Black people in this household. And there's a lot of tension with mental health and with being Black, and how Black people like handle mental health, and what is like, if you go to therapy, or like that's acting white, like you can't really act white or whatever. And that's kind of what my little brother's going through, and what my little brother is like being challenged with right now, because it's like, okay, sure, you can like say it's acting white, but like at the end of the day, your mental health is going to shit. So like you can either act white right now and like get this shit over with and like actually help yourself, or you cannot act white and like get fucked up over it. Excuse my language. But my stepdad, on the other hand, I'm just trying to say this like quietly because he's actually in the house and I don't feel like getting yelled at after this. He like does not deal with mental health whatsoever, like whatsoever, and neither do his boys. To the extent that like he's like we've got into fights over mental health and like he's bashed it and been like, I don't understand why you're going to therapy. Like it's a waste of time. Therapy never helps anybody. Like you're just being a pussy, blah, blah, all this kind of shit. It's very, very toxic. Not good whatsoever. But my little brother is like struggling between these two like areas because my mom's like, just go to therapy. Like it'll help. Like I don't understand everything that's going on with you. And if you like, we'll find like a Black male therapist and like, this will help you out a lot because like I'm not a Black male, I'm a white lady, and I can't help you with certain things that are going on in your life. Like sometimes you just need like that Black male testosterone type deal. And even within his like his PS group chat, like this man's on PlayStation 24/7, and like he has Black friends in there, and they're all kind of going through the same thing. And understanding, like seeing him come out of like sad boy, I don't understand this shit, but coming out of like sad boy hours with his friends, and him being like, that helped a lot more than like talking, like, I don't know, start a therapy group with you and your boys. But like, it's really interesting to me to like see the way that coping mechanisms in my household work, because like for me, it's always been like, I need to go for a drive and I need to go like drive really fast and like not hit people, but like I need to like drive in my car and get like really close to people and like really put that adrenaline and that rush in. And it's the same thing for my mom because my mom was a race car driver. So like having like those two things, like me and my mom cope really well together, because like if we get angry, if we get sad or whatever, it's always like, where are the keys? Like we gotta go, we gotta leave. I can't have anybody around me, I can't do anything, like I need to go. But where my little brother is like, I need my niggas. Like he'll literally like be going through some shit and he'll be like, I need to hop on my PlayStation. Like I need my niggas right now. And it's like, okay, cool, good job. At least you're like understanding, you're coping with it. But like I think there's a very large difference between the way that Black women and Black femmes handle mental health and the way that Black males handle mental health, because there is that strong divide of being like, you're a Black male, like you need to do this, you need to do that, and you need to be strong, and you need to do all this stuff. Same extent to like what Black women have to face, but like it's very, very different the way that Black men are allowed to express emotion and express that kind of stuff. So like that's what we've been working on in my household, at least. But yeah.
Is there still time for me to say something, or do we have to move on?
No, of course. We'll do you and then we'll do Sarah.
Okay. So both my parents are in the mental health profession. Like my dad, he works in the prisons, and he created this organization for Rastafarians to speak and talk about like their time in prison and things like that. And then my mom works for sick kids in their mental health facility. And like you would think that because they have this background, like they would be like more open to talking about mental health in the household, but it's like the complete opposite. And my dad's Trini, so I think that also has something to do with like talking about feelings. It's just not really like that's just not his thing. So wait, what was the next part of the question?
So the next part of the question was, oh, my bad, Jordan. I think you have it. My bad. Yeah.
Yeah. The next part of the question was, if something is not discussed in your home, what two things would you want to be discussed? What would you want?
Wow, that's like so many things. I think just overall, like checking in with one another, like just how are you doing? Like what types of things are you going through, Because like I have this thing called Hashimoto's disease, and like my dad doesn't even know that I have it. That's how much like we don't speak about things. And it's so important because like you really never know what someone's going through, like physically, emotionally, everything. And I think it was Romeo that said like, you kind of see your parents as being like parents, but in actuality, they're just like you. Like they have been through shit too. They have a background. Their upbringing may have been problematic. So the way that they are now raising you, all that type of stuff goes into it, right? So yeah, I would just say that, like to check in on your kids and ask them how they're doing. Oh, and sorry, I have one other thing. I think it's Celine, you were saying you've been going to therapy for a while. Like, how do you, is it free therapy? Like, how do you get connected with these places?
When I was younger, it was definitely not free. And like they were really expensive sessions. But my mom was really big on it. She was like, listen, if you don't want to talk to me, you're going anyways. So it was kind of that like forced therapy, but I stuck with it throughout high school because a girl thought she had anxiety. Turns out I just had heart palpitations. But yeah, so it that's how like that kind of worked out. Now like the U of A offers a lot of free apps and stuff, and so I started using those. But there's also this network that I got connected to, and I can like send it.
Is that University of Alberta? U of A? What you said? What?
Yeah. I mainly like got connected because like I'm an ambassador for the U of A, and so like they like keep all this shit in like the back storage room underneath a pile of papers. It's like you can use this if you're feeling sad, but don't tell no students about it. I don't know why, but that's the kind of stuff that they do. But I also got connected to like a really great network of therapists, and like they come from all different backgrounds. So like there's Black therapists, there's Latin therapists, there's Afro-Latin therapists, which is something that like I had a really hard time finding because I'm Afro-Latina. And I really wanted someone to connect on that mixed portion area because I found that a lot of people couldn't understand like where I was coming from in that area. Therapist thankfully does now, so I can send that to you.
Yes, thank you.